crazy, racist people on paternity court.
We used to go to Patty's house when my dad was with her. He wasn't always there. We were there with Patty. To me, it was a girl thing. I have 3 boys, did not want nothing to do with me until I had my first son.
Your other children do not look like you. You need to have them on paternity court back in front of this judge, because he looks like you, they don't.
Miss Scott claims she gave birth to twins, hoping to spark joy between her and Mr. Holloway. But that didn't happen, because a bombshell dropped when Mr. Holloway questioned the paternity of her older child, Jaden. And so the drama began. And we are in for it now, aren't we?
When me and Miss Scott were in a relationship, she has kept in contact with Mr. Alexander the whole time throughout both pregnancies. Throughout her pregnancy the first time, she's contacted him through Facebook, text messages, phone calls.
So have you been contacting this man continuously, Miss Scott?
No, I have not.
Time to dive into the soap opera of their relationship. Yep, Mommy and Daddy's love story was a twisted web of on-again, off-again shenanigans. But the real kicker ended up being Miss Scott's long-term pal, lurking in the shadows of their romance and sowing the seeds of doubt.
How did this situation go in your estimation?
Me and Mr. Alexander were just friends. We did mess around like years ago, and he's been my friend about as long as I've known Mr. Holloway. Around the time that my son Jaden was conceived, I had no contact with him. We haven't even been in a relationship.
Oh, the drama! It was full of it! Mr. Holloway, though with a heavy heart, casted doubt on little Jaden's paternity. Why? Because apparently, baby mama maintained contact with Mr. Alexander, and not just one, but throughout both pregnancies. And the mother dearest of the defendant backed him right up on this one.
She admitted to me that she was going around where he was, and they were together at certain times of that year. When she got pregnant in 2012, I ended up living with her at her grandmother's house and staying with her throughout the whole pregnancy.
Going to every doctor's appointment, being
So you all
loyal.
were together at this time?
At that
Ladies and gentlemen, gather around, because Miss Neal had a lot to say. But wait, as Miss Scott dished it right back. Oh yeah, now it was a party. Baby mama claimed they were never in a committed relationship. Okay, and yet Mr. Holloway wasn't buying it. Ah, the tangled matters of the heart.
I'm gonna be in the business because this is my child.
Yeah, your child is about to be 26
So
old.
what
He's
you
not a
got to
baby.
do with it?
He's not a baby anymore.
He's mine, not yours.
Baby.
So that's the only thing with that. That's why she have a problem like she does now.
Yeah,
this is why nobody don't want to help her.
You never
in the
liked
first
me
place.
from day one.
Yeah, I have.
Moving on, baby daddy was at birth and even acknowledged paternity. But then, during Christmas, his merry holiday changed swiftly into a devastating one real fast. Oh yeah! Who knew a baby picture on Facebook would end up crushing the guy? And Grandma was made the judge, jury, and executioner.
He looks like me.
She posted that picture
That's
on
my
Facebook,
mini-me.
and before I even saw that picture, I had saw Mr. Alexander in 2012, which was the last time I saw him face to face. And when I seen this picture, he looked just like Mr. Alexander. So that's when I began to
I
have
have
doubts.
a picture too, Your Honor, of it that my son.
So that happened, but that wasn't the end of it. Yep, listen to this. Apparently, there was a birthday party, and some parties weren't invited. Uh-oh, and they definitely didn't like that fact. And that fiasco led to another issue these guys were dealing with.
If it's not, I still want to see the baby. You be denying me from it.
How do I do that?
You know exactly
How do I do that? What,
'Cause
you
you
mad
tell
about the
me.
birthday party? That wasn't my place to invite you. You could have came. Matter of fact, I heard you was on your way. You didn't even show up.
No, I
That's
didn't.
not my place to invite you. And
Why?
me and you weren't
How come
even
it's
on
not your
speak-
place? You the
Me
mother?
and you weren't even speaking at the time.
Well, moving on from that, we ended on the day of birth. And man, was that filled with drama as well. You bet it was. It seemed Mommy didn't want the baby to be passed around the family, and the terminology she used for that was a little, shall we say, controversial.
He's telling people in the hospital like she's not finna be passed around like a trophy because I know that she meant she didn't want me to
No,
hold the baby.
actually, I meant, did you see how many people was there? How many friends I had there? It wasn't even about you. Why you make this about you? It's about Jaden.
It ain't about me.
So quit
It's
talking
always
about
been
it.
about it.
Anyway,
you the one that know nothing
anyway,
about it. It's
I'm
about
done talking
Jaden.
to you.
Until
I'm
now,
done talking.
Your Honor.
Next up, Mr. Holloway wasn't done casting doubts. Oh, he had more, and he relayed them. all pointed to Mr. Alexander, and about time we heard from this guy who managed to bring this level of chaos to these guys' lives. It's gotta be something.
When I saw this picture, and I know for a fact that Miss Scott and Mr. Alexander keep in contact, that they had a sexual relationship with, though.
While I was pregnant, no, I haven't. That was years ago.
This is not years ago.
And while I was pregnant with Jaden, he had like offered to even buy my son some shoes, just being a friend.
You're right.
He's not trying to take charge and be his daddy.
Drum roll, please, because the big reveal was here. Yup, the DNA diagnostics delivered the verdict, and boy, were we ready for it. Time to see whether all those doubts were true or the guy was just full of it.
Mr. Alexander, you are not his father.
Yes.
Mr. Holloway, you are his father.
Yes. Yes. So good.
Thank you.
Miss Samantha had been on a lifelong quest. The aim? To prove that Mr. Froyo was her biological father, despite his decades-long denial. But here's the twist. He once signed her birth certificate, but tables soon turned, and now they were here.
You're sure today's DNA test results will prove that you are not, in fact, her father? I have to ask you first, Ms. Dixon, how does it make you feel that Mr. Froyo is denying you?
It makes me angry and hurt. I was diagnosed with cancer, and recently I've been very ill. I would like my father to be there.
Get ready for some family dynamics that can even make the Kardashians shy, and that's saying something. Poor Samantha had been dealt heavy cards, but she pulled through even though the man denied her, and had been quite harsh to her when she had just been a little girl. Cue the craziness and a mysterious Tom Ashley.
I just want to know. I don't want him to feel sorry for me. He says he's not my dad, but he'll be there for me. I don't need a charity case. You know, if he's not my dad, he's not my dad. But if he is, I'd like him to know, like, I've been through so much. My grandmother passed away, his mother, in '98. At the funeral, he told me my tears weren't needed because it wasn't my grandmother.
I mean, what? So Mr. Froyo denied the daughter all these years, but guess what? He had a tattoo of her name on him as well. Now, what the heck was up with that, man? Apparently, one fateful evening in Florida ended up changing it all.
Like he said, he's got older children. All 4 of us are in a row, from oldest to youngest. My name's on his arm.
Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why would you tattoo her name on your arm if you didn't believe she was yours?
Up till 5 years ago, Your Honor.
Are you serious right
You
now?
denied me in '98.
Let me ask you, hush up there, lady. I'm talking.
Mr. Dixon.
Ooh, back up.
Well, the guy wasn't winning any Father of the Year awards, that's for sure. On the contrary, he was the perfect candidate for the opposite category. Samantha ended up telling all the times and instances he had denied her. But there were some good moments of these guys. I know, hard to believe that.
If you have compassion or at least some type of affection towards Miss Dixon, because it's not being shown very much in the court today.
Whatever the paternity comes out to be, it is. I have neither dislike her or like her.
Well, absence of a father led the plaintiff down the wrong road, and there were consequences. But what was even more astonishing was the way the defendant reacted to the said situation. Man, this dude could give serious competition to all the jerks out there.
He sat in the opposite part of the funeral
I
parlor.
love the way that she can read my mind and she can predict what I say and what I don't say, Your Honor.
Did you show up to the funeral?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Was it
and no,
out of-
I did not make statements like that because that is unmoral.
You're unmoral.
I have more class than that. I have a lot more class than that.
So when you showed up to the funeral?
Oh dear, the confusion and desperation were palpable. Mr. Froyo was still standing by his testimony, listening to his supposed daughter pour her heart out, and he had the nerve to call that sympathy thing. Well, he was long due for a class in manners, and he was about to get one.
I don't care if you don't think she's your daughter. I'm talking about her as a woman, having to go through what she's gone through. And you don't have a level of sympathy for that? I really must say to you that it is disappointing for you to make a statement like that. And you are old enough. You're a grown man with kids.
Enter the daughter the daddy did not deny. By the looks of it, Mr. Froyo accepted her, but there was more. She was in full support with Miss Samantha. Yup, and even backed up her claim on daddy's preference for sons. Wow.
For him to take my brother He had to take me. Did he want to take me? No. My mom made him take me. And yes, we used to go to Patty's house when my dad was with her. He wasn't always there. We were there with Patty. To me, it was a girl thing. I have 3 boys, did not want nothing to do with me until I had my first son.
Is it a sympathy game or a paternity revelation? Well, the results could decide that, and they were in. Judge Lake put a much-needed end to this drama and laid down the truth. Let's see whether Samantha's quest comes to an end or not.
Mr. Froyle, you are her father.
Told you! I'm a man of my word. Samantha, I apologize to you, and I'm wrong for being the way I was.
Mr. Hill, having dropped a whopping $50,000 in child support, was now ready to put his foot down and demand a DNA test for Ms. Harris's 18-year-old son, Tont. But was Tont really his flesh and blood? Time to get to the bottom of it.
Don't you think he's yours?
Basically, she had sexual intercourse with somebody else.
Excuse me,
All right.
Your Honor. Excuse me.
Okay, so hold on. What, Ms. Harris?
He's a liar, a total liar. I've never been with anyone in the 3 years that we were together.
So, baby mama called the daddy straight up a liar. But he wasn't coming slow either. Yep, they were both ripping into each other. It seemed a family reunion brought a little more than the family together. And that's when this whole paternity mess started.
We broke up at least about 6 times. And actually, maybe the next to last time we broke up, she got mad at me because I couldn't go on a trip with her to New Orleans for a family reunion. And actually what happened was, maybe like a week after she came back, she told me that she had slept with somebody else.
Well, this was a classic tale of trust gone awry. And boy, did the wounds run deep. Miss Harris ended up narrating how the baby daddy was once ecstatic over the joyous news and accepted it wholeheartedly. So, where did it all go wrong?
I need you to fill in some of the blanks with your interpretation of the event.
I got pregnant, first in the delivery room. He was so happy talking about he didn't want to sign a birth certificate, jumping, hollering,
Let her
I got a baby.
Let her
he
speak,
cut the umbilical cord, everything. We was at the store one day, he's hollering across the store, I got a baby, I'm buying Pampers, look at my baby.
With no legal guidance, Mr. Hill ended up acknowledging paternity. And so, the child support train took off from the station. However, the guy did try for the DNA test. Apparently, the baby mama proved to be a difficult woman to get a hold of.
Never had that.
Different
you
occasions.
Amazed, happy because this was your first child.
Different occasions, I'm at court. She's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Child's different when we go to different child support. I used to pay $300, maybe $400 every 2 weeks in child support. She never showed up. I tried to get a DNA test. She never showed up, so I tried over years and years and years.
Baby mama was supported by her mother dearest. And when she stepped up to the podium, she directed all her pent-up 18 years of anger towards the baby daddy. Oh, you better believe she gave him a piece of her mind and more.
You need to be ashamed of yourself. You! Are you blind, Chris? Do you see him, Chris?
That look exactly like
Do you see him, Chris?
Well, your daughter shouldn't have
Your
been
other
with somebody
children do
else
not
telling me
look
what
like
to
you.
do.
You need to have them on paternity court back in front of this judge, because he looks like you, they don't.
My kids look exactly like me.
Are you crazy, Chris?
I could pull out a picture and show you. He looks.
Amidst all this chaos, Mr. Tont finally gets the much-needed time to state his case. And boy, did he live a rough 18 years of existence. All thanks to Mr. Hill, who wasted no moment to make the poor guy question his paternity. And he brought proof of that.
I see everybody else with their father, and I don't.
It's all right, babe. Take your time. You said everybody else had a father.
And I just feel like he should be there. He should have been there my whole life. I should remember him through my life, and I don't.
I did try to have a relationship with Tont. He didn't want to have a relationship with me. And it's always when I do talk to him, it's about money. I gave him my phone numbers on many different occasions.
Well, looky here. Miss Harris brought an exhibit along to lay rest to all the doubts of the baby daddy. But he was still standing firm and even tried to accuse the defendant of ghosting him. But the grandma shut that down.
He can come and ring the doorbell, Your Honor. He knows where we live. The fact that he's sitting here, he has the audacity gall to say that this child is not yours.
So you're angry because you feel like out of all this time, you already have not been the father you're supposed to be. But now, after this time to question paternity.
Correct.
The suspense had reached its peak, and we reached the most important stage of this drama. Yup, the results were in, and Judge Lake was all the more ready to deliver the verdict to finally put an end to the misery of poor Tont.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Hill, you are his father.
Can I say
I
something?
think you owe my son an apology.
Excuse me. That's exactly what I'm finna do. Tomorrow, I apologize for not being in your life.